What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another video from the 10-7 MMA show. This video is all about Muhammad Mokaev, a flyweight legend, and 5 reasons why I believe Muhammad Mokaev will be back in the UFC. I don't know when, but eventually I do believe he will actually be re-signed. So without further ado, let's get into it. So reason number 1 why I do believe Muhammad Mokaev will be back is because he is 7-0 at 23 years old. So I did a video previously about Khamzat Chimaev also being 7-0 in the UFC. And this is a very rarely achieved feat, especially in the UFC. I mean, think about how hard it is to even go 3-0, 4-0, right? To have an unbeaten streak like that. But to be 7-0 and at this age of 23, I think this just shows he's got such untapped potential and he could be a massive star in a division that routinely just doesn't get that much attention. Also, I do believe that fans in general love to see dominance. I know I do, and they love to see long unbeaten streaks and just superstar level ability. And I think Muhammad Mokaev can do that, especially with his last fight. And I know a lot of people complained that it was lackluster, but I thought he showed great potential with his striking. Obviously, we know that he's known for his grappling, but his striking looked pretty crisp. He was just a little bit too far away on a lot of the shots he was throwing at Manel, so he was kind of connecting at the end of his range, so they didn't look that impactful. But I thought his striking looked pretty good. He's got tremendous potential. He could be such a dominant champion, and so this is why I think he will be back. So reason number 2 that I believe Mokaev will be re-signed eventually by the UFC, he is a known name in the flyweight division. People know who he is. Some people don't like him. Some people love him. He's got his fans. But the main thing is he is a known name. Now, why is that particularly important in the flyweight division? And this is assuming that the flyweight division is going to stick around. I know Dana White has talked about removing it, and there's other reasons why they might get rid of it. But, you know, we've had a few stars in the flyweight division, but not too many. So if we look at the roster, we got Pantoja at the top, who's the current champ, but even he doesn't have that big of a fan base, especially to most casuals. Brandon Royval at the top is a very exciting fighter, but again, I just don't think not that many fans, especially casual fans, just don't know who he is. I mean, looking at all these names, Brandon Moreno is pretty much the one household name in this division. I mean, everybody knows Kai Kara France, his teammate with Israel Adesanya, but still not too many people know him. Then, of course, we have Manel Kape, who a lot of people had really high hopes for. I think people still have high hopes for him, and he's an amazing smack talker. But outside that, I just don't think we have that many well-known names. So again, this is under the assumption that the UFC does want to keep the flyweight division around. I think it will want to, especially if we can bring Mokaev back in, and he is a really known name. Again, with all this drama, by the way, if he does come back, imagine there's going to be that much more buzz to see him come back and fight. Reason number 3, Mokaev was likely not signed for a combination of behavioral and pay reasons, behavioral issues and pay reasons. So if we go back to everything that has come out of the rumor mill recently, right? One of the things that people were saying is that, oh, he was talking to PFL. That is completely false. And we're going to get to that in point number 4 as to why that was false. But at the end of the day, what Dana White alluded to and what other people have also talked about with Mokaev is he might be a bit of a hothead. He did the sucker punch against Manel Kape when he basically pretended to pose for a photo with him to show unity and then sucker punched him. I'm sure the UFC was very upset about that because behavior like that, while it can build hype for the fight, it can jeopardize the fight. So from a liability standpoint, it's very, very bad. But here's the deal. These behavioral issues can go away. I mean, the kid's only 23, and we can all remember what we did at that age of 23. It's crazy. So I imagine there are ways that he can get around this as he simply matures and grows up a bit. Now, when it comes to the pay reasons, right, maybe he was negotiating back and forth, maybe he overplayed his hand, and the UFC said, all right, fine, you want to play this game, have at it. Go to PFL, go to Bellator. And again, they're probably saying that tongue-in-cheek, and we're going to talk about why in point number 4. But both of these issues can be resolved. We can resolve the behavioral issues. Now maybe they'll come back to the table and they'll be easier to negotiate with because he doesn't really have any other options. So hopefully we will come to an agreement soon and he will be re-signed shortly. Now we come to reason number 4, and again, this is what I was alluding to, which is that there is no flyweight division at PFL or Bellator. So Dana White said at the presser, hey, PFL is going to get an amazing undefeated flyweight prospect, but he was obviously being sarcastic when he said that because neither of those organizations have a flyweight division, which means he pretty much has nowhere to go if he wants to continue his career. Obviously, he could move up to bantamweight, but I'm sure that's not what he wants to do, which means he's pretty much going to try everything in his power to come back to the UFC. On top of that, he has been tweeting that he wants to still be a UFC champ. He's still trying to come back. So I think he knows that there is an opportunity and he's trying to voice and vocalize that desire to come back to the UFC, hopefully to get back into their good graces. Finally, we come to reason number 5. Mokaev is managed by Tim Simpson. So if you don't know who Tim Simpson is, he used to be at Paradigm and then he started his own promotion, and that's called Chosen Advisory. And Tim Simpson manages these 4 fighters, many more, but these 4 fighters, just to name a few, right? Israel Adesanya, Leon Edwards, former champ, right? Both former champs now, but previous champs. Max Holloway and Yuri Prochazka, just to name a few. All of them have been UFC champs. So we are talking about somebody who's on his side, negotiating on his behalf, that is a seasoned vet in the game, that has an insane roster. I just don't see, even if there was some issues negotiating pay back and forth, I think that at the end of the day, Tim Simpson must have a tremendous relationship with the UFC, and he'll probably be able to work something out. So anyways, there you have it. There are my 5 reasons why Muhammad Mokaev will be back in the UFC. I know there was also some shenanigans that went on with the Manel Cap fight, namely the pulling down of the shorts. And I'm sure a lot of people were rubbed the wrong way about that, and rightfully so. But again, he's 23, and I think he can grow and mature, and it would be a true travesty to see him not come back, because at the end of the day, the UFC is known as the best of the best mixed martial artists in the world. And so somebody like Mokaev, him not being on the roster anymore at 23, 7-0 in the UFC, it just doesn't feel right. Even if you want to call this sport a hybrid between entertainment and sport, I think at the end of the day, we want to see, and we hope to always see, the best competing against the best. So let's hope I'm right. Let's hope Muhammad Mokaev will be back in the UFC shortly with a new contract, and hopefully a resolution of the beef between him and the UFC. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, please click that like button. If you want to see more from the 10-7 MMA channel, make sure to click subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining. We'll see you in the next video. Take it easy.